most people don't know how money works, right? If most people knew how money worked, then $50,000 a year wouldn't be the average, because we just talked about it. You can't afford life on $50,000 a year. Right. You can, but it's not the life of options. So the problem is most women don't understand how money works, right? When I've had very top tier experiences of like being flown out first class and you stay at the St. Regis, all this stuff, right? When I've had those experiences, I understand how money works. I don't expect you to always do that, because
you know how much it costs. You like that. Okay.
I know how much it costs. It's $1,500 a night on a weekday. I know how much that costs. So I know I've dated men who make, I'm talking about like millions of dollars a month. Ladies, every man knows what they spend on you, right? He can ballpark. Did I spend 20 grand on you or did I spend 200? He knows what you're not getting over on him. He knows. Okay. Why do I know that? Because I'm a businesswoman. I know the numbers. I know what I spend on a man. Like, I'm going to keep track of that. He's keeping track of everything that he's doing for you.
Confirmed.
So,
what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Melanin Money Show. And if you're listening to this, it's 2023.
Hey,
right? New year, new me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
No, just better version, not a new version.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm excited. You know, what's crazy? What's crazy is I haven't talked to y'all since last year.
I hate when people do that. I hate when people, oh my God, that's a dad joke for real.
Well, I'm a dad. Sure. I got to get them off.
After like January 10th, you can stop saying Happy New Year to me.
Yeah, the 5th.
Fair.
Because
so
it's February 13th and people are like, Happy New Year. I haven't seen you this year.
I've been in 2023 since December of last year. So that's why I get fed up. I've been in 2023 for like 2 months already, like mentally. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good.
Yeah, guys. Yeah. So last episode, we started going down the deep end of, how love and money and relationships and business. And we like, man, we got to keep this party going on another episode because we would have been 2 hours in, which sidebar, like, are y'all like some people have, like, I was watching an episode of Drink Champs the other day. That shit was like, I couldn't finish it. It was like 3-4 hours or some shit. Like, do y'all listen to podcasts that have episodes that long?
That gives me anxiety. That's a Marvel movie. Like, that's legit, like Avengers Endgame, bro. Like, but what's crazy is I think still to this date, the most popular episode on the EYL network is a 3-hour episode, I think, between Mike Rashid and 19 Keys about masculinity. Like 3 hours. It is the highest view. Apparently, people like long movies. So,
yeah, people. I guess it's just all relative, right? Because it's like people will binge watch content on Netflix. Maybe the episodes are 45 minutes, but they watch 6 of them. Right. So I guess I'm just genuinely curious. Like, do y'all like the 45-hour 15, or would y'all like us to, hop in and go all in for like an hour and a half one time or something, 2 hours? Just curious.
Yeah, let us know for sure. But I think that episode has a lot to do with, I think we're just in a point where people are really evaluating themselves and like looking at who they are. And I feel like that's kind of part of what we want to talk about today is like, are there financial gender roles specifically? Because in, that episode, they're talking about, of course, masculinity and masculine and energy. I feel like that has come up so many times end of 2022 that it's like, let's talk about it. I think we should.
Yeah, let's get into it, man. I think we got a lot of, dynamic perspectives that we can share on this. And I know something that people will be interested in. So let's talk about it, man. Let's get into it. So again, as we were ending the last episode, we were just talking about like, if you're an entrepreneur, kind of getting on the same page with your significant other, right? Setting the tone. And so one of the questions that Carter posed was like, should entrepreneurs date employees and then should employees date entrepreneurs? Because there is kind of a different mindset with it, right? And,
very different mindset.
And there could be some very tough conversations that come from that, right? One of it is just like the sheer lack of understanding of the relentless commitment to the thing that you're building, right? It's like employees have this mindset, and rightfully so, right? It's like when it's 5 o'clock, when it's 5:30, I'm checked out, right? Like they are kind of watching the clock in a lot of scenarios. and sometimes doing whatever they can just to do enough to get that paycheck. In entrepreneurship, it's the polar opposite, right? There's going to be an extended period of time where you're doing more than you're getting paid for, right? So like there might be a disconnect. And then entrepreneurs also are really big on, like we talked about in the last episode, personal development, right? And so if you're developing yourself personally at a rapid rate, that means you're going to be evolving into a new version of yourself. And if your significant other isn't on that same wavelength, you might outgrow the person that you used to love, right? And so that could be something very interesting. What do y'all think about that?
Yeah, I haven't dated enough to know the answer for sure, but I've dated enough to know my answer, right? And for me, I think that entrepreneurs and employees speak two different languages. I think that entrepreneurs and employees see the world polar oppositely. Like, I think that, the things that you mentioned are very important, right? Like the personal development piece, but also just like the autonomy piece as well. Like, babe, let's be going to Turks tomorrow because I feel like it. It's like, oh, like, you got to call off. And then like, as a man too, like, like I don't want another man or boss of, whatever telling you what you can and cannot do. Right. Because I want to go and I want you to have the same freedom as me to go. So it's not something as little as that, or something as big as like them not understanding that today I'm working at midnight and that's just what it is, and not making me choose every night between you or the business. Because if we think about it, entrepreneurs, our businesses is like our child. So it's similar to like you moving in with somebody who has a kid and you don't love that kid as much as them. Right. So like, I think that
that's a good analogy,
and I'm good at this, right?
That's
No, for real. Like, like if you date somebody who and they bring their kid into your household, you can say like, she can say that I don't want you to be that kid's father, or he can say that I don't want you to be this kid's mother, but you still have to love that kid if you want to have a relationship. So when it comes to their business, it's like they have to they might not need to love your business as much as as you do, but they need to have love and respect for your business, because if they don't, it's going to be resentment, and you're going to be picking between both of them. And often my business is going to win 9.5 times out of 10. Right. Yeah. So I think that's
here's one perspective I want you to think about though, because I have a lot of similar thought processes as you in that regard. But being somebody who is married, there's certain things that you just have to think about that you don't necessarily have control over. Right. So my wife works for Meta, and she does well. Gets paid really well.
Which is not your typical employee, like
for sure. You know what I'm saying? And she also has, things that she does on the side entrepreneurially. And I told her several times that she doesn't have to work. Right. It was like, you can do this, you can do that. But where she's at right now, she's content and she's enjoying kind of the balance, because where she's at, she really is in the space of like, she enjoys the passion around what she does outside of her business that she gets paid for. I mean, outside of work that she gets paid for it. But she's not at the place where she's willing to put the pressure on her passion, if that makes sense. Y'all have heard me say that before, right? And she just wants to do it. She makes great money from it, cool. But she can do it sometimes. She can be all in on it and other times. And so one thing that you also have to realize is that you have to give your spouse the space and opportunity to make the decision around what they want to do. Because the other thing is like, you might not have a significant other that wants to be a housewife, right? They might have career ambitions that maybe are partially corporate, maybe it's full-time entrepreneurship, whatever the case may be, but you have to give them that space, or you have to go into the relationship knowing that you might have expectations that don't align with that, right? And so I just kind of wanted to get that perspective too, because, for a period of time, I was just like, I'm literally what person wouldn't give if their husband was like, you don't gotta work, but that's just not where she's at right now. So, you also can't make that decision for your significant other, but I think it is very important based upon where you are in your journey with the person that you're dating, married, whatever, that you guys are on the same page about what the plan and what the vision is, right? Because if your whole vision is that I have somebody who's in a support role, right, and they're not kind of building their own thing or doing their own thing or whatever the case may be, and that's not what you want, then that could cause a rift. Right. So you just have to know where you are in that journey.
I think it's interesting because you guys are hearing two different voices right now. By you guys, I mean, whoever's listening, you're hearing the 10 years of marriage, right? Is it 10 years of marriage? It's 11 years of together, marriage. Right? Okay. Yeah.
Been together for 10.
Okay. So a decade, you're listening to a man who's been with the same woman for a decade. And then you're listening to Carter, who I believe is currently single.
But yep, very single for
okay.
for a long time.
Okay, so you're getting two different perspectives here as it relates to money, right? And how you should handle that with your significant other. So I'm thinking kind of like it's interesting because I mean, in your case, George, you're an advisor, and Carter, you're also an advisor. We're both in the space of money, so it seems like it's inherent that you guys are going to be the financial go-to person in the relationship. Like you're going to handle the investments. Like you're going to handle most of the budgeting. Like you're going to handle, can we do this? Can we not do that? Right. And so I feel like that's not always the case in every situation. Like there are situations where the woman is better with money. But from like your guys' experience with other people and what you've seen, is there somebody in the relationship that should really be heading that up? Like, is that the man's role to like take on the investments, to take on whatever it's supposed to? What is your guys' perspective on that?
What's up, guys? Congratulations on joining Team Black Wealth. But we'd be remiss if we didn't give you a uniform as an official player on the team. So head over to shop.melaninmoney.com and grab your official uniform for Wealth Builders and Company. We'll see y'all at practice.
I think it's whoever's smarter, right?
Yeah.
Like.
I mean, that's a simple answer. Whoever's smarter. But what I would also say is, especially in the spirit of like estate planning, and leaving a legacy, you need to make sure that you're inviting that person into the decision-making process, and that they are aware of what's going on, that they know how to access what's going on. Because what you don't want is you leave and they don't know how to do nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a time in our relationship at the very beginning, because she's so trusting, it was like she didn't even know how to like log in. Like, I won't say know how to, let me back up. She had never had to like log into certain things, didn't know where it was at. And I was like, whoa, okay, we gotta tighten this up, right? Because like I gotta make sure that you know what the heck is going on, so that if something happens to me, that you're in a good position, right? You know where everything is, what we have, how to access it, because these life insurance companies ain't gonna knock on your door if you die, right? Like you gotta like know that you had a policy there and give them the certificate, like so you got to make sure that they're at least aware, right? The other important thing is you have to, even if one person is leading it, you have to be operating on the same page from a philosophical standpoint, right? You have to be like making sure that, hey, my money story and how we approach money is this way, and we are aligned in what we're doing. It can't be a dictatorship like, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it. It has to, because then that's how you start to have financial infidelity, right? Where people try to have secret accounts and don't want to tell you about this and that. It's like, let's get on the same page and let's make sure that we are aligned in how we spend our money. Because when we first started, me and her first got together, the first year we got married, like when we were dating, we didn't combine finances. When we got married, the first year, all we did was combine our bill account. Like we didn't combine anything else. We just combined like the fixed account for like our joint expenses. And the reason being, I'm be honest with you, like I wasn't with that. I didn't know how she was going to do it. So we just had one account that we shared, right? Then over that first year, we started to incrementally merge. Because here's my personal philosophy, because I think this is actually a good topic, because some people always ask that question. Like, if you're in a relationship, should all the money be together? Should she have this? Should he have that? My personal experience, I'm not saying it's universal truth for everybody, is it ain't about 50-50, this, that, and the third. It's like, we have a common goal for the relationship, and all of our resources should be set up in a way for that collective goal, right? And it actually was more cumbersome to try to separate it. Like, for example, like you handle the groceries, you handle this, like, and she's out of town. I'm like, well, damn, she's supposed to get the groceries. I'm like,
I ain't trying to pay
the rent, the mortgage, or whatever. It became more of a headache. So I was like, let's put it all together. And then on top of that, what it did was it creates a much more transparency and vulnerability, because it's like, I get to see everything, she gets to see everything, and nobody can hide, right, their money decisions. And so for me, it was helpful, right? It was helpful to go ahead and just like push everything together. But everybody's story is going to be different, because when we first got started, I didn't really have much anyway. So it didn't really matter. Like, well, when we were dating, we got married, I had some ducats. But now, like somebody like Carter, who's, you know, much further along in her journey, Jacqueline, somebody who's much further along in their journey, when they decide to make that move of finding that ideal person, I would probably make different moves now than I did back then. Yeah, right. I think it's different because it's going to be personal to everybody.
Yeah, it's about where you're at in what space you're in and what you're coming to the table with and what they're coming to the table with, right? I think that, to Jacqueline's point, like there's a lot of there's a lot of relationships where the woman might be the breadwinner, right? But and like a lot of men feel a way about that. Like it's crazy how many men feel a way about their girl making more money than, whether it's an employee, entrepreneur, or whatever. And I think that really places I think it really places a strain on a relationship, because it's like, yo, like I don't think it matters who makes more money. I think that, whoever's smarter when it comes to financial literacy should help make the decisions. Like Jacqueline, I mean, you're single too, from what I know, right? And so what are you gonna do when you approach a relationship where you're either making more money than the guy, or he's making more money than you, but you're way more financially savvy than he is?
What am I gonna do?
Like, what are you gonna try to make happen? Yeah. Like, are you gonna try to take over the finances because you're a financial advisor? Or you gonna let him be the man, even if he's wrong in some of the financial decisions? Like, how are you planning to deal with that?
And just lead us to bankruptcy?
No, I mean, like, I'm giving you the floor to let you know, like, kind of how you plan on dealing with that.
I mean, it's interesting. I've definitely dated high net worth, and I've noticed that, like, it doesn't really matter what their income is. They don't want you to know more about money than they know.
So are you gonna shy away from your knowledge to please that person, or are you gonna like step into your queen energy and just be who you are?
Oh, I've definitely shied away from it. Like, there's been no reason to come through the lane like LeBron with your shoulder out. Like, hey, they ask me what I do. I'm in education.
So one of the stories that you said that really I never forget, because it was just it was a story that really resonated with me, and it was hilarious. She was like, he was out, but as a guy trying to wine and dine you, and kind of like flex and show like how much money he had account. He had like 6 or 7 figures in his like personal banking account. And you're like, bro, like, why do you have all that liquid money just sitting there? Like, are you serious? Like, why is that money not invested? It's like, oh shit, like I didn't expect that. Ain't the reaction I was expecting to get. And that's just such a dope story, because like, you really like stepped into like, I'm financially savvy. This is stupid. Like, what are you doing? Right. And I think that, a lot of guys not gonna be willing to hear that. So I mean, I think it's interesting though, the position that you're in and how you're gonna navigate that going forward.
Yeah. And the other thing too, I don't want a lot of guys to think about that I struggle with in the beginning phases of like when I thought I was ready to get married, is like I wanted to have all these boxes checked. I was like, I need to have done this and done this and done this. And before I can feel comfortable like making that decision. When I say boxes checked, I mean like financial boxes, by the way. Not other boxes.
That's good.
And so I say that to say that if you find the right person, they can help you check the boxes faster. A lot of men kind of wait to make the decision because they're like, man, I'm just not where I want to be, or there's certain things I want to. Now, I don't recommend that you date or get married and you're unstable. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is, if you're in a decent place, you're always going to have more ambitions. You're always going to be greater version of yourself. So don't delay your experience with getting with your significant other just because you haven't checked all of the boxes off your list in terms of who you're trying to be as a man. Because I think a lot of people do that because it's like, I'm supposed to be here and I won't feel content or comfortable moving forward until I'm there. Because of what Jacqueline said, it's like, well, I'll just say, well, here's what I'll say. In my personal opinion, I think men measure themselves off of 3 main things, right? How much money they have, how they feel about themselves physically, and how they feel about their sexual performance.
That's not wrong. That's not wrong.
No, that's how men, that's their measuring stick. And so if there's ever a deficiency in one of those areas, they're going to project, right, that on to the woman, right? If you're not performing in that area, then you're going to feel some type of way about yourself. And instead of just like manning up about that, you're not going to be vulnerable about that, right? You're going to find some way to project some type of energy, but it's coming from that place because you don't feel like you're measuring up in that area, right? She might have not even said nothing. She might not even be tripping about the performance, about the money, or about you physically, but you feel that way, right? And so it's very important for you to get yourself to where you want to be, but at the same token, like not feel like you have to be perfect in your journey, because most women They want someone who's going to be honest with them. They want someone who's going to be vulnerable and transparent with them, someone that has a committed plan to improve themselves, and someone that is going to be considerate and show up for them, right, in all that they do. That's what women want. A lot of things that men think women care about, they don't even care about. I don't want to speak for women, but they don't really care about that. Yeah. So you over here plotting this master plan to get the Lambo, to get the penthouse, to like get all the things, and she just wants your time.
So you really gonna try to coach me in front of all listeners right now? That's what's happening.
I wasn't shading you. No shade.
It's not like you're coaching me in front of everybody right now.
No shade. So let's let a woman chime in, right? What does a woman want? Because we gotta talk about high value men. The guy, there's so many podcasts on high value men, and it's the gift and the curse of the internet. Jesus Christ. Like anybody can get a microphone, anybody can get a camera and start talking. Right. And it's all these podcasts about relationships and that. And now we're kind of entering, we're dabbling a bit, but with context. So Jacqueline, from a woman's perspective, what does a woman truly want from a man?
So let's back up a little bit. You brought up high value man, and I've been having this conversation with my friends. I said, there is a difference between a high value man and a high net worth man. Not the same thing
at all.
Just because you have a lot of money does not make you a high value man, right? The high value is subjective. Are you gonna say
what do you feel like that is? Because I don't know what that term has so many definitions but depending on who says it. So what's a high value man in your eyes?
Isn't that subjected to what your values are? Like to me, it's like a lot of the things that you were saying, George. Like I want somebody who prioritizes like where we're going. Like, are you a leader? This is not an open invitation to everybody listening to the podcast. Okay. I'm just saying.
DM's gonna be flooded.
Are you a leader? Like, are you capable of leading? That's like the main thing on top of my list, because feminine energy doesn't like to make a lot of like really tough decisions, right? That's why soft life has been all over the internet, right? Are you capable of making decisions for us? Now, maybe you can't make all of the financial decisions. Maybe you need some help there, but like, have you shown that you can budget your money up to now? Like, I'm almost 30 years old, so I'm not dating 22-year-olds. Like at this point,
so 22-year-olds stay out the DMs. 23-year-olds, you got a shot. All right.
Stay out. It was a 19-year-old the other day. I was like, what is going on here?
You got your shot, man. You got your shot, King.
High value, like, can you lead the relationship? That's one of my biggest things, because I feel like that encompasses everything. Like, is your health on point? Because if your health isn't on point, then you can't lead me. Is your confidence there? Like, do you know what you know and what you don't know? Like, are you a competent man? I feel like these things lead into you being high value. Can you commit? Are you able to commit to anything? Because if you can't commit to anything, then I know you're not going to commit to me. And if you can't commit to me, then you can't lead.
Okay,
so
passionate. I haven't seen Jacqueline this passionate. Wow, but keep going, Quinn.
Everything goes down to like, can you lead the relationship, right? So you're high value to me if I see the leadership qualities in you, right? So I have a question though. Wait, you had asked me a second part. What was the second part of that question? Oh, did I agree with that? Yeah. That was your question. Yeah. I was like, did I agree with that? Yeah. Absolutely. So ladies, there's a difference between, and men, like just because you make 6-7 figures doesn't make you a high value man. That may make you a high income, may make you high net worth, doesn't make you high value. I think that is part of it. I think part of being a man and part of being able to lead is being able to say, we're going to Turks tomorrow. Oh, you need to take off work? F your job. You don't have paid pizza. I'll pay you. That happens all the time. I'll pay you. Like what you make? What do you make? $275 a day because you make $100,000 a year? Bet $500. We're going to Turks tomorrow. Like that's the ability to lead. You got to have some funds. So this is what I'm going to ask to y'all in return. Can a man without money make a woman happy in a long-term relationship? Like,
ooh, that's honest. Good. That's good. Before I jump in on that, you just made me think about something. So like the $275 a day, right? One of my favorite quotes y'all probably heard me say before is the value of anything is the amount of life you're willing to trade for it, right? The value of anything is the amount of life you're willing to trade for it. And so when I heard that, it just reminded me, it was like, yo, like people really like, which is why you got to make more money. Cause like, I'll be damned if someone be like, yo, like how much, that's just like 500. I need 2 hours in your life. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it just made me think about like, yo, like, you gotta be careful what you trade the time for. But anyway, that's another episode. Actually, we got a calculator in the Melon Millionaires Club too. It's called the Life Value Calculator, created by yours truly. So check that out. But yeah, so your question was, can a man make a woman happy long term if he doesn't have money? Basically, was that the question?
Can a man without money make a woman happy in a long-term relationship? Sure, you can do it in the short term, 3 months, maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
Long term, if you don't have money, so let's say you make $50,000 a year and you want a wife and you want 3 kids. Can you make that woman happy in a long-term relationship?
Yeah, I'm gonna put it simple like this, right? Like, and I'll let Carter chime in. I look at money as the fuel, right? So if I want to take your fuel, right? No matter how nice the vehicle, like the fuel is going to dictate how far you can go, right? So if you don't have money, there's just going to be natural limitation, or you don't have much money, there's going to be natural limitations on the places that you can go and the things that you can do, right? So if a woman has certain desires in the relationship and there's a limited amount of fuel, I think it is going to put a strain. So I don't necessarily know if it means he can make her happy or if it's going to automatically make her unhappy, but I do know it's going to place a strain on the things that you can do. Sure, there's plenty of people that make 50. I mean, those are the stats, right? $50,000 in that is median household income. Let's say individuals, some people's households are living off of $50,000, right? And I don't think money in and of itself can buy happiness. But what I do think is it's 2 things. One, it's a damn good down payment. That's for sure. And number 2, I think it provides options, right? And it's like a woman might have had a long day in gender roles, which we'll touch on a little bit, and she don't feel like cooking. And when you got money, you got the option of, let's go grab some takeout, right? But there's some people who really can't afford to do that, right? And so will that make you happy? Will that make you unhappy? And when people started talking about inflation this year rising, and they were saying like the cost of everything is rising, that's a rich man's way of articulating inflation. For some people, you are priced out. I can't fill up my tank this week. For us, it's like, damn, I got to spend 80 in the tank, 100 in the tank, 120 in the tank. For some people, I can't fill up this week, right? I'm on fixed income. It's all I got. It ain't no more coming in. And so in those situations, when life has its ebbs and flows, I think it can certainly put a strain on things, and that strain could impact the happiness, if that makes sense. I don't think it's mutually exclusive. I think it's contextual in the sense that there are situational dynamics where not having enough money could really be challenging, right? Where you have to constantly say no, where you don't have options, where you're frustrated. Like that's where it can cause frustration in the long term.
What's going on, guys? I'm George.
I'm Jacqueline.
And I'm Carter.
And we are your money mentors. But today we wanted to talk to you about a really special feature, Financial Flicks. Can you imagine an entire on-demand library of financial content across 3 main categories: wealth building, entrepreneurship, and personal finance, so that you can take your finances to the next level?
Guys, when you replace entertainment with education, your life will change forever. Imagine replacing 1 hour of Netflix with 1 hour of Financial Flicks. Imagine how much further that could take you to your financial destination. And we have the perfect library for you.
Yeah, so if you're ready to Financial Flicks and chill with us to put more of your energy into education, then join us in the club. We can't wait to see you there.
See you there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. And I think that the best takeaway that you said, I'm just dive in on it more. Like, it's like you can have a nice car, but if you put an 87 in a car that deserves 93, it's going to eventually have damages. It's not going to go that far. So as a man, you have your body right, your confidence right, your physique right, your performance right. But like, if you don't have money, that's going to just start to chip away at stuff that you have. If you don't have money, you have to keep saying no. It's going to chip away at your confidence, right? If you don't have money, you can't help the family eat right, it's going to chip at your body, right? It's going to deteriorate the happiness over the long term if you have to constantly not be able to give your wife what she wants, constantly not be able to give your kids what they want, constantly having to say no, or we can't do this. And I think it's going to start to slowly dismantle your confidence and slowly dismantle her confidence in you over time. Because as you progress, expenses increase. You have 1 kid, you have 2 kids, you have 3 kids, that $50,000 income. Like, she got to shake, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah. Let me give you a real world example real quick. So like, my son has a nanny, right? And it's $600 a week, right? And that's not even on the expensive end for some of these nannies. $600 a week, right? So you do the math on that, right? If someone's making 50 grand a year, you're paying $600 a week for a nanny. How much of that income is going? So number one, you're not gonna be able to have a nanny, right?
Yeah.
So at 10 months, we were gonna do it at a year, but at 10 months, we say, you know what? Madge was with him for the first 6 months. Now we have the nanny for another 4 months. I think he's ready for daycare. His first week in daycare.
I was there. Yeah.
Yeah, first week, right?
Yeah.
By the second day, he got a pink eye, a double ear infection, and he ended up getting the flu, right? After being in daycare for 2 days. Wife said, so then mind you, with daycare, you still got to pay even when your kid's not there, right? So daycare is a little bit cheaper than a nanny, but we're still having to pay, right, while he's out. And then my wife's already contemplating, like, no, like, we need to either go back to a nanny, get another nanny, your mom can watch and we'll pay her, whatever, because she's a mom, right? Yeah. And she ain't, her baby sick. And granted, I don't want to see my little man sick either, but she's like, she ain't having it. So what? He was there 2 days and she's like trying to cancel Christmas. Like, listen, it's a wrap. But I'm bringing that up to say, as a man, let's say she wants to go back to the nanny, which is 3 times more expensive than daycare, right? A lot of people can't afford that. It's expensive, right? For anybody, right? And that's more than a lot of people paying their rent or their mortgage. And so it's like, those types of things are going to cause a strain. It's going to be a challenge, right? And you have to put yourself in a position to where it's hard, you're not chipping away at that, because it will. As a man, if you're saying, well, can we just keep him in the nanny? You guys say, well, nah, babe, that ain't gonna work, man. It's gonna be too tight.
Yeah.
Right. And then as a man, you're gonna feel some type of way, like, damn, I can't put my son in the best situation possible because it's a money thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like, well, I got to put him in this because it's cheaper and we can't afford to do the other thing. That is going to eat away at your confidence. And that's going to show up, as I mentioned, and as a projection towards your significant other. And she's going to be wondering, like, why are you giving me this energy? What did I do? Because she doesn't realize how you're feeling internally about you not being able to show up. Right. She might not even really be pressed about it if you articulate it.
Yeah, but you're gonna be pressed about it.
You're gonna be pressed about it.
Yeah,
and it's gonna show up, and it's gonna hurt the relationship.
Absolutely, and Jack, I think that's a great question, because like a lot of people try to like downplay money into relationships. Well, we're not saying you have to be rich. We're saying you have to have enough to have options, to have freedom, enough to make each other happy. And and whether the guy's applying that, the girl's applying that, whatever, but you got to have options. And I think that money's a tool and it gives you options. And the more options you have, the more freedom you have, the more happy you end up being, right? Because I don't know what the stat is, 70% of divorces is caused by like financial issues, right? Like, if you can eliminate that, you putting yourself in a better position off the rip, right? You know what I'm saying? So like you were coaching, quote unquote coaching me earlier. Like the reason I'm so lock set on getting my finances in order before I start dating is because as a person that doesn't fully believe or hasn't fully seen relationships work out for the long term, what I'm doing, since I was raised in a household that wasn't full, I'm trying to tactfully negate every factor that could cause something from going wrong. To put myself in the best position so that things don't go wrong. So I think good.
But I was gonna say, you're also keeping yourself from something that is very, very key. Okay. Yeah. This is like, we talked on the last episode where I was saying like, what did I say? I said, don't stay down for the wrong man. Right. But what you're doing by not dating during that phase of building is you're not building rapport with that woman. So you're going to get to where you want to be financially and you're going to feel set. You're going to feel 100%. And then you're going to become a little bit insecure of like, okay, is she just here for the money? Is she just here because I made it financially? Or does she really rock with me like that? So you're canceling out that entire ability for her to build that relationship with you and rock with you when you in the 02 Honda, like to build that relationship. So
always went from the 02 Honda already.
The
02 Honda though, like that model, I think like I wanted that car so, but the little square Honda, like back in the day, like, I'm a little bit older than y'all, but like I wanted that Honda. Like that Honda was fly. I wanted that.
Jack, is it still fly now?
No. I mean, if somebody gave it to me and I had no other choice, maybe, but no.
But no, Jack, that's a great point. You're nullifying, like you're solving one problem just to walk into another one, right? So, all right, I'm gonna get my stuff together so I don't have to worry about not being financially stable. It's like, okay, now I'm financially set, but now I got the problem of would you be with me if I wasn't financially set? And now you're going down this other rabbit hole of having to fix. So yeah, I mean, that's a gift and a curse on both sides, right? And I think that as men, we have to ask what evil would we rather have? Like GA, you dealt with the quote unquote evil of having to be vulnerable in the early stages by saying, yo, I can cook, but look, the roof quits ain't happening 2 times a week, right?
That's a fact.
So you dealt with that early, and you built with somebody now that you don't ever have to ask the question, is she with you for the money? Mm-hmm. But on the flip side of it, you can negate that and say, I'm gonna just get to the bag. But now you got this potentially bigger demon, which says that, is she with me for the money or not? And if you don't get that question answered early, it's going to be in the back of your head into the entire relationship.
Yeah. And I think you just have to use your power of discernment and pay attention to behavior. And I think we all have a level of intuitive nature, right? And that's built inside of us, right? So now I think at the point, regardless of how much bigger you build your life, both of you guys, you're at a point now where you're not like, it's not a come up story at this point, right? Like it just gets better. Right. Mm-hmm. That's a blessing. Right. So I say that to say at this point, it's like just paying attention to behavior. So it's like if it's always, we always got to go out. If you're never content with just like doing like low key stuff, and the expectation is we always got to like do out of this world, then you probably know that you is somebody who has a level of entitlement and expectation for you based upon what they're perceiving about your finances. Right. And the real truth is when you realize that, acting on that, because what often happens is we try to give people the benefit of the doubt too long, and then you end up like staying in something longer than you should, which makes it even harder, right, to unravel, right? So it's like when you realize that, you got to rip the Band-Aid off. Right. You can't be like, you got to remove the ego. Like, damn, I really thought she was me. You know what I'm saying? I work out. I'm fly. Like,
yeah, bro. Yeah. That's cute now, bro. But,
you got to rip the Band-Aid off. You know what I'm saying? But yes, it's tricky out here. It's tricky out here in these dating streets. So let's talk a little bit about gender roles. You guys say something, Carter?
Yeah. I mean, this kind of goes into gender roles, I guess, but we could definitely go into that. Jacqueline, asking for a friend. If a man sets a standard early, does he have to stay to that standard? So if a man takes you out on a date and he gets you Uber Black to whatever, like, and then y'all goes on a nice first date, great restaurant, great experience, boom, boom. Because he tried to wind it down, does he have to now keep that expectation up? And now are you going to be expecting that going forward because he showed you that one time?
So I'll say this, speaking more on behalf of all women, like most people don't know how money works. Right. If most people knew how money worked, then $50,000 a year wouldn't be the average, because we just talked about it. You can't afford life on $50,000 a year. Right. You can, but it's not the life of options. So the problem is most women don't understand how money works. Right. When I've had very top tier experiences of like being flown out first class and you stay at the St. Regis and all this stuff. Right. When I've had those experiences, I understand how money works. I don't expect you to always do that. Because
you know how much it costs. You like that. Okay.
I know how much it costs.
Yeah.
$1,500 a night on a weekday. I know how much that costs. So I know I've dated men who make, I'm talking about like millions of dollars a month. Ladies, every man knows what they spend on you, right? He can ballpark. Did I spend 20 grand on you or did I spend 200? He knows what you're not getting over on him. He knows. Okay. Why do I know that? Because I'm a businesswoman. I know the numbers. I know what I spend on a man. Like, I'm going to keep track of that. He's keeping track of everything that he's doing for you.
Confirmed.
Yeah.
Confirmed.
So, you know, like I dated her. She was $5,000. Spent $5,000. Like he knows it's not a secret. Yeah. So I'm trying to get back to your question, which was,
standard.
You answered it.
Yeah. Same energy or not.
Ladies, like, I just don't expect that. Like, I don't expect that every single time. Now, it's obviously great if you can do that, but also if women, we learn to financially educate ourselves, you can have the conversation of like, oh my gosh, like it was really nice when you did this for me. It was really nice when we went here. It was really nice when you bought me X, and just kind of set the tone of expectations. Like, is this like a standard? Like, just ask. People don't communicate. Right. Like, we just don't, like, we just want to be like, oh, okay. Like, No, communicate, right? Because like I said, he knows what he's spending on you. So figure out if that's going to be something that's going to carry on or if it's not.
What's going on, guys? My name is George Atchimpong.
I'm Jacqueline Shattuck.
And I'm Carter Cofield.
And we are the founders of Melanin Money. And the reason why we started Melanin Money is because we know that there's a great disparity when it comes to building wealth among people of color. We have a tremendous mission that we want you guys to join, right? Every single year, we want to help at least 1,000 people improve their net worth by $100,000, which will create $100 million of new Black wealth every single year.
Can you imagine $100 million of new Black wealth every year? As it stands right now, for every $1 that a white family has, a Black family has a mere 10 cents to match that dollar. We want to increase the wealth in the Black community so that we can have equal opportunities.
Simply put, we're about closing the wealth gap, and it starts with you.
So, see you inside.
And fellas, here's a hack for you. Here's a hack for you, fellas.
Give a hack.
So, women, well, I won't speak for all women because I can't. Jacqueline is a woman, so she can speak for all women.
Yeah.
I'll speak for my woman.
There you go.
Women.
Your woman.
She is she's like goal oriented in the sense like if you give her a goal, like she can latch onto that. Like women, like she's not as long term thinking as I am. Like I can be like, yo, next 10 years we gonna do this. She's like, 10 years. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
But like but this summer you give me something to latch on to, you know what I'm saying? I can commit to that. I can lock in. So a hack, fellas, if you want your significant other to get on board with something, give them something that's tangible that they can see, that they can relate to, they can connect with. So for example, like if I'm like, yo, we're going to take this crazy trip in the summer of 2023, we're going to the south of France, blah, 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 right? Cool. So because of that, this is what we're about to do for the next 4 months, right? Because you got this to look forward to. So then it's easier for them to commit to the incremental sacrifices or decisions or like not going crazy, right? Leading up to that, because you've given them something to hold on to. But if you say, we gotta buckle down because we want to be financially independent in our late 40s, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that sounds good, bro. But like, I mean, they can't latch on to that, right? So give them something tangible, like these incremental rewards, opportunities, celebrations, because then they're more likely to stay committed with the process. Another thing too.
Before you get off on that one, because Kenny Conwell said it really well in the end of his Credit for Wealthy People. If y'all haven't listened to that, he said it really well. He's like, women are incubators. Like you give them an idea, you give them a goal,
that was good. That was good.
They're able to take that and build on it, right? Facts. So give them the south of France, like it's gonna get done. She's gonna do it.
That's a fact. It's a whole fact. And the other thing too is explain to them, to Jacqueline's point, how money works, right? Because here's the thing that I know y'all have heard us all say that I advocate for. Like, if you put more money in assets, right? And then namely cash flow producing assets, now the assets can pay for whatever it is that you want to do. So then it's like, if you explain to them, hey, look, baby, this is how we're going to do it, right? We're going to put the money over here, right? And if we put this much, it's going to produce this. And it don't matter what we do every month, whatever the cadence is, it's going to spit off this amount of money that we can use for whatever we want, right? So if you invite them into the decision-making process and they understand how the money game works, they can say, oh, shoot. So instead of you having to like, because if women value time, you keep busting your ass and like hustling and blah, blah, blah. If we can prioritize a good chunk of that over here, the money can work for you. Like, you mean like it's an employee? Yeah, that's crazy, right? You can get more time with me. The money can work for us. And now the money can pay for what we want. Like, you down with that, right? So you gotta like show them ways that it's relevant to them, right? Because I know my woman wants time, right? Like she want to sit on the couch, want to cuddle, she want to hold hands, all that kind of stuff, right?
Y'all so cute.
And so she wants to do that. Right. So I got to speak in her language so what she's going to get more of what she wants.
Period.
There we go.
So basically,
yeah, guys, give them more what they want. You know what I'm saying? Give them more what they want.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
We know she's amazing. So let me slide in here really quickly. And I need to give some tips to my ladies. Okay.
Give some tips to the ladies.
If you are a woman and you want to date wealthy men, the worst thing that you can do is go into that relationship and not learn anything. Because when I stayed down for the wrong man, my entire goal was, I kind of knew that I was staying down for the wrong man. Like, you have your intuition is there. Mm-hmm. But I took it with, I couldn't leave because I was young. I couldn't leave, but I was like, while I'm here, let me learn something. Because he was already a multimillionaire. So I was like, let me learn something while I'm here. Mm-hmm. And that to me is the worst thing, that I can watch women date men that I know that are wealthy and they will leave the relationship with absolutely nothing. I'm not even talking about money. I'm talking about you leave with, you didn't learn not a thing. You didn't learn anything from this man. Like, you don't know how to make money. You don't know, like, you didn't learn, like, he makes millions of dollars a year and you didn't learn not a thing from him. Like, come on, sis. We got to do better. We got to do better. Like,
so
you
should be your recommendation in that sense, right?
Money.
So it's like, okay, so you've identified that this may or may, woman's intuition, he may or may not be the guy, but you're still here, right? Some would argue that you leave at that moment, but you're saying, in the famous words of my brother Denzel, I'm leaving with something.
I'm leaving with something.
Right? I'm leaving with something.
I'm leaving with something.
How, like, what does that look like? Is it like asking them, like, yo, I see you do this. Like, can you show? Like, you just like asking them, like, game. Like, what does that look like?
Men who make millions of dollars a year are very intelligent. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you can ask them about your situation. Like, hey, I only, he knows how much you make. If he makes millions of dollars a year, he knows how much you make. You're in marketing, you're entry level, you make $50,000 a year. Ask him, how can you get to be the CMO of something? Like, how can you start investing your money so that it can make money? What should you be doing next? What should be the next part of your career?
And if he messes with you, like, for real, he'll even start like planting seeds, investing in you and planting seeds in you, because he wants you not to have to depend on all his money. A good man, right? He wants you like, all right, babe, I want you to do this, and that, because the back you get, that you can spend on whatever you want. And but I think that's important. Like, don't date somebody and leave with nothing. Like, that's just like the famous words of Denzel. I'm leaving with something.
I'm leaving with something.
And that's another good point too about all relationships, right? It's like, social media, the internet in general, has made it seem like if something doesn't go how you originally thought, that it's all bad, right? And that's not the case, right? Like you can have a relationship and it was great times, you learned a lot, and you just realize at some point there was an inflection point, right? It's like, hey, like, you're going here, I'm going here, but that doesn't make it a bad thing, right? It just means evolution. It just means growth. It just means whatever the case may be. And I think things don't always have to be messy, right? You can just realize that maybe if it's a romantic situation, that on a romantic level, right, where we're not on the same page, or maybe from an ambitions perspective, we're not on the same page, but you can still have a graceful unraveling of what that looks like. And it doesn't have to be like, people just are so addicted to drama that they see like a relationship that's over, like, well, I want to know. Like, I think I heard people say, like, when people like just like don't announce their breakup or whatever, like, well, y'all was public with them other posts, so this is our relationship too. We want to know what happened. Like, people are nosy. They want drama.
You can't bring us into the situation and then just cut it. Like, we need to know what happened.
Yes, I can. Yeah.
No, you can. You brought Shorty. I would have known.
And doesn't have to be anything disparaging. It can just be like, hey, like, we had a great run. It was a great time, and now she's gonna be doing her thing. I'm gonna be doing my thing. We both still winning. It don't gotta be drama. Like, people want it to be, but it don't gotta be.
That's why, like, I always say, like, I never get when a woman or man gets mad at the other person, say, you wasted my time. How did they waste your time? If you were still doing everything that you were supposed to be doing while y'all were dating, nobody's time got wasted, right?
Yes, yes, it is.
Really?
Yes, it is. If you claim that you want a wife in a long-term relationship and all this stuff, now you still reserve the right to change your mind, but some men will say this, and they have even said it before. I had this conversation yesterday. They will say, like, oh yeah, I want a woman who wants a long-term relationship. Why? Because you're going to attract better quality of women, when in actuality, you don't want a long-term relationship. You don't have multiple houses in multiple countries to have one woman. You don't want a long-term monogamous relationship.
Well, that's just people
who feel like your time is wasted. You can feel like your time is wasted if somebody strings you along. They're not honest, right? They're not straightforward, which I will tell y'all, you're going to get more with being honest than with lying.
Well, here's God's advocate, right? God's advocate. Shout out to 19 Keys. Say doesn't no devil's advocate, God's advocate, right? So I don't think anybody, well, I can't say anybody. Like, if a man's already rich, then a woman might, have the intention to, like, from the get-go, right, to finesse the situation, or vice versa, right? Because there's some women out here really getting it. Shout out to Oprah, you know what I'm saying?
Not married.
But I think that people do start out with great intentions, and then things shift. Here's a great example. Have y'all ever had a friend that you really rock with? Y'all road dogs, right? But then they become a roommate, or then y'all go on a trip and y'all stand in the same spot together. It's like, damn, man. Like it's a little different, right? Like it's different. Like you thought that it was one thing and you got in a relationship and it was
So that's what I'm talking about. You reserve the right to change how you feel at any point. So at a certain point, you could feel like, oh, I wanted a long-term relationship with you. Now I changed my mind. But I feel
there are liars out here who just come out the gate swinging lies, right? Like so Jacqueline, I guess to my point, where I said I personally don't understand when a woman says I wasted her time, or other people's scenarios, because I'm not coming with malicious intent, right? It's just like, if we were growing and we were learning and it didn't work out, where you still grew as a person in the year that we were together, I still grew as a person. We learned a lot from each other, patience, gratitude, whatever, and we can take that to our next situation and become better people, because I learned about myself, you learned about yourself, right? So in those situations, there's no wasting your time. But there's other situations where people are just lying at the gate, but that's up to, I think that's up to your discernment of reading people's character to not put yourself in that situation over and over and over again.
Well, no, to your point, I'm glad you gave that context over and over again, right? Yeah. But where I think it's a challenge, and I've years ago, right? I've never been a dream seller, right? My whole thing was I've never been a dream seller. Like, to my point about telling Madge I wasn't gonna wine and dine when we first started dating, but some dudes,
you want to make hibachi at home.
Yeah. Oh, you already know. You know what I'm saying? We out here. You know what I'm saying? Where the fire at? You know what I'm saying? But there are some dudes who, like, they are dream sellers because they just want. We know what they want.
I got friends who are professional dream sellers.
Quality women.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just want quality sex.
Yeah. I got friends who are professional dream sellers.
So there's people who are world-class finessers with tasteful gestures. Right? You know what I'm saying? And so what their whole MO is I'm gonna sell this dream, right? So I can get you to do what I want you to do. And then when I'm done, I'm done. And that's not okay. I'll admit. But there's a lot of responsible men who tell their intentions from the get-go. But here's where women have to accept responsibility. What a woman will see, they'll see that quality man, that high value man. Oh, he was honest with me. He'll change his mind. He'll eventually want to be in a committed relationship. That's just not where he's at right now. So even though he told me up front, that's not what he wanted, I'm going to stay in here because he's going to change. And that's where women or men, depending upon who's leading with that, have to accept responsibility. Because if that person showed you their true colors, i.e. I don't want a relationship. We can kick it. We can have companionship, but I'm not changing my tune on that. If they don't change their tune, you got to accept that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot goes wrong is people, they value companionship and want to be around somebody so bad that they forget that old buddy was like, nah, that's not where I'm at with it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we have to accept that too.
That's true. No, you're right. Women do. And I'm like, look, sis, if he says that's not what he wants, he's not going to be your husband and give you your twins. Okay. Love you, sis. Listen, let's help out Doreen though. Okay. So Doreen, tweet them and weep. Woo, tweet them and weep. All right. Mm-hmm. So this is our segment. We take a tweet and we're going to help Doreen Nasira. Okay. My boyfriend still stays at his parents' house and he's 32. I feel like it's just off to a rough start.
Yeah. Okay. She painted the old picture right there. I mean, I don't understand what else. Yeah.
Listen though, okay. My boyfriend still stays at his parents' house and he's 32. He claims he hates renting, so he's saving. He'll move out when he's getting married. But she also says he's stingy. He's never given me money, even when he comes to my house to sleep over. She said I use all of my own money. She says, is this a healthy relationship?
Interesting.
My thing is, baby girl, you gotta love yourself, right? That's where you gotta start, because I don't think that's a relationship that you need to be in if you love yourself, because it's like what we just said, like all the paintings on the wall, all the pictures right in front of her, and she's choosing to look around it and be like, well, you know. Like, you know what I'm saying? I personally,
my man holding the red flag like this.
Yeah, like he holding the red flag.
It look kind of maroon for real. Yeah, like it ain't really red like that. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. There's always context clues, right? There's always scenarios where like, okay, that can make sense. Like I got a buddy of mine, his whole family, they moved, he started a company, a startup. They sold their house. He used to work for Amazon, moved to Atlanta. Parents had a basement. They lived down there, whatever, right? So like there's scenarios where in theory, those types of things can make sense. But it sounds like out the gate that like it don't make sense, right? Like he's staying at home, cool, but like you got to at least be able to like take me to dinner and do something.
If you ain't paying got no rent and you ain't giving me nothing, help me out and coming to my house, it ain't gonna get no better when he get his own crib, Queen. Because if he ain't paying you now, he ain't gonna pay you then. And like you said in that statement, he's not planning to move out until he's married. That means you got to decide to marry him before you even live with him, unless you live with him as parents' crib. And again, that's just somebody holding the red flag, and you kind of like
you hitting the little Kim, Kim. You know what I'm saying? The little
Kim. No.
So, okay, but she said, in quote, he doesn't give me money. Do you think that she's being entitled in this situation because he's not giving her money?
If you date somebody live with their parents' crib, you ain't entitled. If you're even entertaining that conversation.
Yeah. If you're even entertaining that.
Right? Yeah, you're not entitled.
Now, Jacqueline, I get your point about like he's not your daddy. Like, what, are you expecting an allowance? You know what I'm saying? I get that logic. Like, why is the expectation money? But I think that she's probably looking at it as a trade-off. Like, now I can't even come to your crib. Like, you can at least throw me a little.
You come to my crib and my refrigerator.
Probably at her crib more frequently. Often. That's the context, right? Like, so because they're not chilling at mommy and daddy's crib, right? So like, you mean to tell me you all in my crib drinking all the Kool-Aid, right? Eating all the hog malls, and you ain't throwing me no bread for groceries for nothing? Nah, champ.
I've been in situations.
I'm gonna assume that's the context that she left out.
That's a fair assumption.
Right?
That's a fair assumption.
So Shorty, you know what I'm saying? Give him an ultimatum. You know, say, hey, look, it's been fun, but like, either you got to throw me some bread, like we got to figure something out. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like the sun shines brightest early in the morning. And so, you know, he's already showed you, you know, it ain't shining too bright. It ain't gonna get no brighter, you know? So.
Love it. This was good, yo. Like this was, I got a lot out of this episode selfishly. So I appreciate this, and I think the audience would appreciate it well, especially Jacqueline, you held it down for the ladies big time. And just, you know, I think the authenticity of this conversation, I think people who are going to listen to this are going to be able to resonate with one of us, right? At a specific point in time. And I think that's super dope. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, guys. So, you know, we always like to give y'all tactical takeaways and homework assignments and all that good stuff. So guys, after listening to this episode, if you're currently in a relationship, ask yourself, have I set the proper expectations with my significant other based upon the dynamic of our situation? So if you're dating another entrepreneur, have y'all, and she's a boss too, which we didn't really touch a lot on, but if she's a boss too, or he's a boss too, are y'all setting the proper expectations on who's holding down things domestically? Are y'all paying for it, right? Because both of y'all are out here killing it. Like,
shout out to Jacqueline.
Expect her to be mommy homemaker, and she working just as hard as you, but you know what I'm saying? And you expect her to do all the domestic stuff. So like, make sure that if you're in a current situation, whether one person's working and one person's an employee, whatever the case may be, have I been honest about setting the right expectations with that person? If not, now's a great time. Hey, we're going into a new year. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Like, let's set some expectations for how we gonna keep this thing going in 2023. So that's my takeaway. That's my homework.
No. That's major. That's major about the expectations. Ladies, stop helping these men build businesses that you're not married to. Ooh. Like, there's a lot of women who they are willing to stay down and they are willing to help you build. And ladies, like, you can't do it without some form of ownership. Like, y'all could fight me in the comments on this one. Like, but ladies, stop. I've been through it personally. Like, stop helping build up these men for them to leave you with basically nothing, right? You need to learn, but also, like, if you're gonna stay down for him and you're gonna hibachi at the crib, like, cool, we're gonna hibachi at the crib, but like, we're legally going to be building this together. So I want to put that out there with expectations. Like, make sure you have that conversation.
Yeah. My thing is just like, lead with something in every situation that you decide to go in, like whether you're business owner, other person, employee, or vice versa, or somebody's making more money than you. Just leave every experience with something. I think
legally.
legally or mentally, right? Or like, don't run
off with the don't run off with the safe.
IP counts. But I think that, like, one thing I've done, and I think that I've tried to do in every relationship that I've been in, I tried to make the person better. So even if we didn't end up right, they still were better than I found them, and vice versa. I try to leave a better person than I came in. So I think in every relationship you get in, just try to leave with something so that you can be better in your next endeavor.
Yeah, and also just better believe in yourself. Like, never have so much of a dependency on someone that, like, if they don't want you, why are you staying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, like Jay said, you got people saying they made Hove. Okay, well, so make another Hove. Like, don't ever give somebody so much power that if they're at a space, even if you aren't there yet or thought that you weren't there yet, if they're at a space where they're mentally checked out or they want to move on, that you're like, well, no, I can't because whatever reason. Like, no, like, better believe in yourself that you have enough inside of you to go out and level up and continue to, like, win in life, right? There's no scenario where someone can take something away from me and I'm like, that's it. Like, man, they took everything I had. Like, no, what God has for me is for me. And if something doesn't work out, it's cool. Like, I'm no love lost. You probably have liberated me from something that I didn't realize I needed to be liberated from. And now I'm going to shine and I'm going to thrive. And I can also do that and not have any ill will or resentment towards you. Because if I do have ill will or resentment towards you, that's like me drinking the poison and expecting you to be impacted. Right. Mm-hmm. And so, like, just elevate, keep it moving. Don't harbor any hater energy if something doesn't work out, and just continue to win out here.
Let's get it, y'all. Let's get it. Well, I guess we let people a lot to digest on this new year. So we appreciate y'all. Tap in, like, subscribe. YouTube, we're almost at 10,000 subscribers to help us get there. And we'll see y'all next time. Peace.